man must change, either voluntarily or through severe shock.
A fiery dragon will cross the sky 6 times before this earth shall die.
At night, they will think they have seen the sun when they see the half-pig man.
A landmass rising, giant waves were set in motion by this eruption to crash upon the shores of the Australian continent. Great tidal waves were hurling themselves upon the coastal cities, destroying all in their path.
Man
Little
flees
escaped.
in terror from the floods, and kills and rapes and lies in blood.
For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be food shortages.
Earth will be broken in many places. The upper portion
There will
of
be
Europe
such a great
changed
sudden
as in
flood
the twinkling of an
that
eye.
one will not have a
And
place
a great earth
for land to fall
such
upon.
as had not occurred since men came
This
to be on
prophecy
the earth.
will come to be.
With the year 2000 fast approaching, many people find themselves irresistibly drawn toward the messages that are contained within prophecy. Many of these prophecies have been fulfilled with unnerving detail and accuracy, and yet heated debate still continues on exactly what they're trying to say. Is mankind being warned of something? Hi, I'm Ronnie Burns, and we're about to see how Nostradamus, John the Apostle in his book of Revelation, Mother Shipton, the 15th century prophetess, Edgar Cayce, who was known as the Sleeping Prophet, and many other visionaries all seem to be saying the same thing. Apocalyptic dates commonly identified by visionaries of the past include, among others, the year 666, along with the year AD 1000, both favourite dates for doomsdayers. And then there was 1066, the Battle of Hastings, 1666, when London burned, which Mother Shipton, the 15th century English prophetess, accurately predicted. The Hopi Nation of northern Arizona predicted both the First and Second World Wars. They tried to warn the American government on both occasions, but were ignored. And in 1999, July, a comet of destruction is predicted to collide with the Earth. Should we accept the notion of prophecy and prediction and its so-called ability to reveal the future? If so, we would want to know if such forecasts are a threat or a warning.
My interpretation at this point that 1998 through 2002 or 3 or whatever are going to be the most difficult of the earth change years.
Within the next 5 to 10 years or so, we'll experience earth changes the likes of which the world has never seen.
It will not simply be earthquakes and tidal waves, it'll be war.
Whenever there is a high point of civilization, it always ends in catastrophe.
What all scientists seem to agree upon is that change is upon us, major change.
And we begin our quest at the greatest archaeological monument of all time, the Great Pyramid on the Giza Plateau in ancient Egypt. The Great Pyramid stands 46 stories high and dwarfs the Sydney Opera House. If it was set down in New York, it would occupy 13 city blocks, while the Empire State Building, although taller, covers only half a city block. Not only is its sheer size impressive, but it would have to be the most controversial building of all time.
The dating of the construction of the Great Pyramid is still up for grabs. Physical evidence seems to only reveal around 2500 to 3000 BC. But astronomical evidence that has surfaced recently indicates it could be 10,450 to 10,500 BC. And of course, that fits with Edgar Cayce's dating of the whole Giza Plateau, particularly the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid.
There are several theories concerning who actually built the pyramids. Some say it was the Atlanteans, some say it was the Egyptians, and others even say it could have been extraterrestrials. Perhaps it was a combination of them all. People have laboured for hundreds of years on this site, interpreting and misinterpreting their findings. Their calculations often led them to believe they'd uncovered prophetic meaning within the Great Pyramid's curious sacred geometry. Do the pyramids foretell of future events? Peter Le Mesurier, author of The Great Pyramid Decoded, read languages at Cambridge and is a teacher and translator. Over the years, he has focused on ancient Egyptian mysteries and is an authority on the Great Pyramid's internal timeline.
Now, the Great Pyramid, again, according to my decoding and a lot of other people before me, contains a, if you like, a blueprint for human evolution, a history of the world in advance.
The theory is that when we examine the pyramid's sacred geometry, we can calculate significant historical events such as the outbreak of the First and Second World Wars, the bombing of Hiroshima, the JFK assassination. About here would be about 2 BC, and up here would be around about 29 AD, which of course is when Jesus started his ministry. Well, I'm now entering the Grand Gallery with its magnificently engineered corbel ceiling. And this line here, this wall here, represents the year 33 AD, where there's said to be a sudden explosion of enlightenment, this year being the death of Jesus Christ. As we ascend the Grand Gallery, we see how, when measured in pyramid inches, one can pinpoint certain major events in history. According to this method of calculation, great earth changes seem to be scheduled to take place around the turn of this century. Here the ceiling drops down dramatically, interestingly enough, between now and the year 2000. So it seems mankind is forced down onto his hands and knees before entering the King's Chamber of Enlightenment. And finally, this is the King's Chamber. Right here I'm standing under the apex of the pyramid and its supposed sarcophagus or open tomb. It symbolises the new age, the golden age.
But then above that there are 5 more chambers, which rather suggests 5 more dimensions of consciousness, culminating in an upward arrow, which may suggest that's where we're supposed to be going.
It's incredible to think that some long-lost ancient culture is somehow reaching out to us, the people of the 20th century, and trying to warn us of something. The late Edgar Cayce told us of discoveries to be made beneath the Sphinx in 1998. Cayce foretold of these mysterious chambers containing ancient artefacts being discovered beneath the Sphinx around 1998. He said these discoveries would serve to enlighten mankind. The great changes predicted by the pyramids are expected to occur once these chambers have been opened.
So there's a message there, let's look for it, and this is the big thing that's going on at the moment. Let's look for this secret chamber. And the Egyptian government have got a bit fed up and told them there's no more looking for secret chambers, thank you very much. And I can't say I blame them. But of course, if it were right, and the whole thing weren't built by Egyptians, then you can understand their anxiety.
The secret chambers beneath the Sphinx may not only contain a hidden repository of knowledge left by the builders of the Great Pyramids, but speculation has it that even the missing capstone of the Great Pyramid may be lying here, waiting to be unearthed. It's difficult to imagine what might happen with the rediscovery and replacing of this missing capstone if it is to play some part in the enlightenment of humankind. Perhaps this capstone acts as a kind of ignition key to activate this remarkable piece of machinery that is the Great Pyramid.
The Ring of Fire is a line that runs the gamut of thousands of miles around the Earth, separating boundaries or tectonic plate boundaries. It is where plates come together and apply maximum stress. And where that stress is, we see volcanic activity. The vast majority of volcanism is found on the Ring of Fire. This passes up through the United States, it passes down through South America. It is a global encompassing line. As the Earth stresses due to a distortion of its wobble or its core, it applies stress to this Ring of Fire and it becomes alive and active. We can expect that that will become even more active as we enter the years 98 to 2002. Instead of a handful of volcanoes going off, we need to think in terms of hundreds of volcanoes going off.
The lands of the samurai will undergo great change. A great deal of that land will sink beneath the waves. The great Ring of Fire will then burst into life, bringing in its wake the collapse of the bed of the ocean, causing the great fire mount there to spew forth destruction.
Japan has had a very long history of volcanic activity, and there's also quite a high frequency of volcanic events and quite a high density or concentrations of volcanoes in that country. There are many areas in the world where volcanoes are on the brink of eruption. It's not unusual for those types of events to produce large solitary waves of seawater which have been called tsunamis.
For storms will rage and oceans roar when Gabriel stands on sea and shore, and as he blows his wondrous horn, old worlds die and new be born.
Mother Shipton, as well as predicting major Earth changes for our time, foresaw the discoveries of her own writings 500 years after her death. 30 years ago, a rare collection of Mother Shipton's prophecies was smuggled out of the Mitchell Library, which is now the State Library of New South Wales. The originals had been kept in a locked room, along with many other volumes of prophetic writings deemed unsuitable for viewing by the general public.
I know I go. I know I'm free. I know that this will come to be. Secreted this, for this will be found by later dynasty.
And she, in these prophecies, spoke of a fiery dragon crossing the sky at the end of the century. And that, again, refers to a comet or this star.
Not every soul on Earth will die as the dragon's tail goes sweeping by.
Mother Shipton also speaks of continents sinking when this comet passes by.
Not every land on Earth will sink, but these will wallow in stench and stink of rotting bodies of beast and man, of vegetation crisped on land.
The prophecies of Mother Shipton, Nostradamus, Edmund Harold, and Gordon Michael Scallion not only speak of great earth changes, but they all make mention of global warfare in the very near future.
Alas, a war will follow with the work, where dwells the pagan and the Turk. These states will lock in fiercest strife and seek to take each other's life.
I have seen visions that indicate that the problem will start in Turkey, and from Turkey it will spread to Iran, and from Iran it will spread to the Middle East, and there will be a nuclear exchange there.
In Europe, it will not simply be earthquakes and tidal waves, it'll be war. And this is something, again, that has to happen because civilization has become so corrupt, and people are not willing to change voluntarily, and therefore the changes have to be forced upon them.
As we already know, the Hopi were correct with their predictions concerning the First and Second World Wars. They also warn us of an impending Third World War.
The spirits will warn you twice, but the third time, you stand alone. We've had 2 warnings, the First and Second World Wars, but now we stand alone in the third one. There'll be no one protected, and whoever dropped that gourd of ashes upon them, it is going to drop. They said the gourd of ashes will fall from the air. It will make the people like blades of grass in a prairie fire, and things will not grow for many seasons. You know the gourd of ashes by the name atomic bomb.
Wars will start up again. The sky will burn at 45 degrees. Fire approaches the great new city. Immediately a huge scattered flame leaps up. The machine of flying fire will come to trouble the great chief. Plague, famine, death from the military hands as the century approaches its renewal.